Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday. It's July 23rd. This will be a chart lesson for the day, and another big rally day. It looked like we were going to have a range day, and it broke out and traded higher, and the market's about to close in the next 5 minutes or so. It's about 5 till 4 Central Standard Time, so we will be closing here in just about 5 minutes. And it looks like we're going to close on or near the high unless it backs off really quickly or something. So another big bullish day today. Um, there's not a lot of trades today. There's a few. There's a lot of mixed trading, even though it looks very bullish on the daily chart. The 2,000 tick chart does not look nearly as good as this. So, but let's flip over there and we'll take a look at it and we'll go through the trades and you can see how I saw it for the day. Okay, here's our 2,000 tick chart. We did have a medium news item today, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. Home sales at this point. It's not a high volatility, it's just a medium. So I don't pay much attention to those. 9 o'clock came right in here and you can see it didn't have much effect. So, um, but yeah, it looked like we were going to have a range day and then this thing spiked up. It went into this channel and boom, it really got real kind of crazy right here. Going last maybe 30 minutes of the trading day here. And it looks like we're going to close on or very near the top high for the day. So we'll see what that means for tomorrow. But there it is. Again, a measured move on the range was right in here, was our first target, but we've pushed a little bit higher than that. So let's zoom in. You can see there's not a lot of trades today. This won't take long. And you can see there's a lot of mixed trading. So, um, use the EMA to help you. I'll see somebody, this is definitely mixed. You can trade this both ways, but look at the EMA. It's still pointed up, and there's still an upward trend there. And people will lose sight of that. So I've had people trying to go short, and we're in a channel and we're pointed up, even though you would expect that we might still try to make a new low on this channel here. Obviously the range is taking precedence and it's overpowering any opportunity to go lower, and the buying's coming in. So don't sit there and fight with the market. When you get a trend in the other direction, go with it. Somebody asked me that in the forum, when do I start trading in the other direction and give up on a retest? Well, as soon as you get a confirmed channel in the other direction, or if you get if you just got a sideways range in the other direction and it's responding to both sides of the range consistently, trade the range rules. But nothing is 100% in the markets. Most of the time you'll get a retest and a new low on a channel like this, but today we didn't get it. And sometimes you don't. Nothing, like I said, nothing is 100%. Most of our rules will keep you on the right side 90% of the time, but there will be times that you just have to, give up on the rules and say, hey, it's not going to happen, and we're going the other direction. And people want to buy this market for whatever reason. It's still going higher. So let's zoom in here and we'll go through the trades and we'll wrap the day up. 7 o'clock came just as we're, I can't remember which one of these bars it was on here. Actually, I think it was somewhere over in here. I can't remember exactly where. Yeah, 7 o'clock came in right in. I was thinking it was somewhere in that sideways stuff, but notice we made a new high. We've been in an uptrend. We finally got a close outside, so you'd expect prices to try to make a retest. And then we make a new swing high here. It's higher than that one. You pull back first entry, and then this one's lower again, and it makes a 2-bar match in the low. So you could go long there on the second entry. It's not a perfect setup. It looks a little sideways, maybe congested, but there's still plenty of room to get out before here, and it ends up making a new high. So that's one's iffy, and you probably could argue there's a triple test here, and that's a really strong signal bar. Again, it makes a lower low there, or a higher low, I should say, but it does swing lower there and make a 2-bar matching low. So you could take that trade. It's just right into those highs, and I'm not crazy about it for that reason. So I'd probably skip that one. But I did mark it green. No, I didn't even mark it green, did I? I didn't like it in real time, so I'm probably not going to mark it. So I won't even bother to mark that one. And then, of course, we did make the new high. pulled back and made a lower high here. It broke higher, turned down, and closed almost on this low. And I would call this a new low, so that would be first entry, second entry. I'd treat that like a second entry short. That turns out to be a really fairly nice move there. And then we're correcting again. We're moving up. There's a second entry short there, but you can't go short there. It's not a good setup anyway. But you get your close outside new high, and there's just no setup there. You can't enter on that inside bar. This runs down here, makes a low. You actually get a first entry, second entry, but this just looks like one leg up to me. This is sideways stuff. This is off the EMA, but prices may be going back to the trend line. It's hard to say what prices are going to do right here. And so actually the trend channel might even be right here. And after the fact, I think it fits better there. So I do believe that's correct. I think I was playing it off the wrong low there originally. It looked good at the time, but you can see as we got more price action, this looks more accurate. So having said that, you've got this short-term one here, so you might take that trade. I didn't like it in real time because I was looking at I was reading it a little bit wrong on where this lower trend channel line was. But if you saw it like this, I would take that trade. And you might have taken it anyway because you still would expect a retest of the low here, but we could easily go back to the trend line. But anyway, you suddenly get another second entry short, and it's right at the midline. Maybe you might take that one as well. There's just not much room to scalp out, and that's the issue. But both of them turn out to be nice trades. And then there's a little hidden second entry there, but I wouldn't take that. And it would have worked. I believe it would have worked. I wouldn't take it, though. Just see if there was enough to get out of there. I'm curious. Yep, you can see there's two points and an extra tick there. So you can easily get out of that. Then it rallies here. There's a second entry here, but the signal bar is no good. And then you get a closeout, but there's no close outside of that channel yet. Then you get the close outside the new high. I didn't mark this one because it was like a third entry, but looking back on it, I don't see any reason why you couldn't take that trade. So I'm going to at least mark it green, and it would have worked. I just kind of missed it in real time. So, but it's there. And you might even argue for that to be red. It's a first entry, second entry. So this is like a third entry, but you get your close outside the new high. And this is a pretty good trend down. So you would expect prices to try to make a new low. And that's a good signal bar. And you might even argue that there's a triple test there. So that's another reason to enter that trade. You can see those 3 touches across there. I mean, you could really argue for that to be red. And I just missed it in real time. So, but there it is. And then it bounces here and you get 2 legs up, and there's a second entry short there. I like that one. You probably don't get a runner. Well, you might get a runner on this one because it does play out that you could get a runner. It depends on how you played it or if you were even trying for a runner. But it did bounce off this trend line right here and confirm it. It's just a first entry going long, and I don't really like it right there yet. You would still be looking for a possible retest to the lows. I would go ahead and draw my downtrend channel here. And you get a close outside, but you never get a new low here. It just keeps working higher, and that's because the trend is up now, and you can see the EMA's turning up, and it's starting to get obvious that we may be going higher here instead of lower. So there's a first entry, second entry right there, but I don't like, that's too sideways and congested. I would not try to go short there. You could probably try to draw a little channel there, but I think this is correct, and you don't want to go short into that low, and you see what would have happened to you there. It runs higher, and this is just a first entry here. Now this would be this would just be a first entry short. It is a lower high, but the signal bar is not good enough. So you do get 2 legs down, and then there's a second entry long right off the key entry point again, and that's where you want to go long. and then you pull back first entry, second entry, and you get 4 bars of matching lows there. There's a second entry long here, but that's not a good enough signal bar. And then, but when you get those 4 bar matching lows and you got another nice bar, you could go long there as long as you got room to get out. And that, you can see this just takes off. I marked this green, but you could argue for that to be blue. I really like that in real time. I didn't expect it to do that, but you figured it's probably going to go back up because we couldn't touch the high the last couple times, but we didn't touch the lows, so there's still a chance we're going higher either way. And again, you don't know that it's going to do this, but you expect it to at least go higher there. And man, that turned out to be a great trade. So if you missed that one, it's not a perfect setup though, and so that's the reason I marked it green. But you could almost argue for that to be red. And then we backed up here, 2 legs back. I didn't like going long into that, the highs right there. That's never a good idea. And you can see the previous highs. It doesn't end up mattering. It shoots right on through. It's not an ideal signal bar, but it probably does close in the 1/3. I wouldn't take that trade back into that resistance though until that's acted as support or resistance a few times, and you know what prices are going to do. You can see here you've tested it twice, but it still doesn't hold. And then you test it once, so you're more apt to go short out of here than you would be to go long because of this was previously resistant. So, but I don't see any chance to go long until way over here. But anyway, you get the 2 legs back. It turns out to be a great move, but I wouldn't take it. And then, of course, you do get a second entry short here. You do get a close outside the new high on one, but I'd wait on a lower high here. You can always argue that maybe you go short there since you got the close outside the new high on a breakout. But we've already broke out once and went higher again, so that makes that less viable. So that's a real, that's almost not even green, but I'll give you a green on that one. Here's the better entry, but the signal bar doesn't qualify, so you can't go short there. And then we're back down here bouncing again, but no setup. We kind of chopping sideways and runs up here. And then you do get another second entry short, but again, there's no setup here. Again, you get a close outside the new high all in 1 bar, but on this breakout here. So again, you might argue for that to be green, but I'd wait on the lower high, or which you could call this a lower high from here. But you don't. This is the signal bar, and this is an inside bar, but it's not a good enough bar either. So again, there's no entry, and then this is just a first entry, and another first entry with a green signal bar, and then finally you get a first entry, second entry, and you get a quick double test of that resistance too, and this one actually breaks higher and turns down. So I like going short there. It's quite the reason I made this one green is because there's not hardly enough room to scalp out. So that makes this one still questionable, even though you could count that as a second entry. And so you got to be real careful with it. I marked it green. Again, I'm not crazy about it, but there it is. And then you get a second entry long here, but again, no signal bar. High or low here, but it's right back into the resistance. Another close outside and new high all in 1 bar, but I'd wait on the lower high, which is here, and that just looks too congested, and you see what would have happened to you. You got stopped out. So there's no setups there. We hadn't really established if this is going to be support or resistance yet. You're getting a little bit of both, so it's still mixed and hard to know what's going to happen. That's just a first entry long, and it takes off again, and then again you get a close outside the new high, but no setup. You get a lower high here, but you've already got a close outside, and you only need one tick or two for a new low, so you don't know what prices are going to do there. But when it comes back and it holds again after it's held a few times, and this one failed on the move through, you're making higher lows each time. So on a second entry with that much room back to the EMA, I like that trade. Now again, you don't know that it's going to take off and do what it did, but you expect it's going to come back to the EMA, and you'll get your scalp out of it if there's enough room. But this thing takes off. So If you caught that one, that was a great move. You probably could have ridden this most of the way up. And then notice you get to close outside 2 legs to a new high. And there is a lower high here, and I didn't mark it. I should have at least marked it green. I'd want to wait on the lower high here, and it comes here, and it's no setup. And then finally you get this is a second entry short. Notice the new low, first entry, second entry. You can see it working up, close outside new high. And we've tried to go higher 3 times. So I think you can take that trade. Again, it's not ideal, but I think you can take it. It would have been good for a scalp. And it runs on down, and then we get 2 legs out of there and another second entry, and it's right at the cutoff of 230. So I mean, it's like 230.36. You could take that trade. It's I think you can argue that's a triple test, 1, 2, 3, plus it's a first entry, second entry, and you're expecting a retest to the lows here. So and it's a good signal bar as well. So I like that setup. And it turns out to be, you get another 2 legs down, then you're going higher again. Of course, it's too late to enter way over here. And the only reason I like this one is because it's right at the 230 cutoff. So, and there it is. And we did close just slightly off the high, almost at the highs of the day. So what looked like was going to be a range day turned out to prices headed higher again. But if we look, let's go back to the daily chart for one more minute before we wrap this up. So you can see we pulled back. We broke out of this range. We tested it once. We tested it twice. A lot of times you need a triple test before it's going to go higher. And the first move you would look for would be a measured move, but we went much further than that. So this thing may continue on higher now. We'll see. We're definitely pointing up and definitely in a big uptrend now. So we'll see what happens next. We could correct tomorrow. We could continue higher, but we definitely close on the high, and this market wants to go higher. So don't argue with it. Go, never argue with the price action. Wherever it takes you, go with it. That's our goal anyways, to try to go with it. So, and when you're not sure, don't do anything. If you're not 100% sure what prices are doing, just don't do anything. That's where most people get tripped up. They're trying to find a trade on every swing, and there's not one. And the next thing you know, they force a bad trade, and they have a loser. But that's discipline and patience and following the rules, and that's just as hard as trying to learn the strategy. It's probably harder than trying to learn the strategy. So stay with it, keep studying. The key is to get as much practice, study, and repetition as you can every day. Just like this is a skill. Reading this chart and trading is a skill. And just like any skill, the way you get better is to practice, study, and get daily repetition. And if you do that every day, you're going to get better. And how do you do that? And you have to do that trading live data. And none of us, even if you got $1 million, you don't have enough in your account to try to learn this trading live. So don't try to go live until you prove you can do it on the simulator. You're just going to be a donator if you do. You're going to donate your money to the skilled traders. So don't waste your hard-earned trading capital thinking you're going to be different or smarter than anybody else, because the smarter you are, the more trouble you're going to have, because trading does not work under common sense. You've been rewarded with good common sense all your life, and so you want to use it and listen to it because you've reinforced it over years of doing that. But if you do that with trading, guess what's going to happen to you? You're going to lose your shirt. You're going to lose your trading money, because prices do not move based on common sense. We got a set of rules. That's what our price action manual's for. It's a set of rules that you can follow that'll teach you price movements. Those rules are built around what prices do and how they move. And it's not following common sense. And that's why most all traders fail, because the smarter you are, the harder this is, because you want to follow your smarts and your common sense, and it works totally opposite. I mean, you've probably heard some stories of people that said they just became a contrarian and started making money. Whatever they thought they should do, they'd do just the opposite and they'd make money. And it's probably because they were following their smarts and their common sense and figured out that wasn't working for them, so they tried just the opposite and it worked. But if you learn the rules and you follow them, they will help keep you on the right side of the trade, and it'll help you with the price action and which, understanding how prices move and where they're going. But if you try to use your common sense, you're going to fail miserably. So you have to do it on the simulator, but you need as much of that. It doesn't take that long to learn the strategy. You can learn the strategy in 3 to 6 months if you're, depending on how intelligent you are and how hard you work at it. But in 6 months, most people can probably learn the strategy, but you're still not going to probably be profitable because you need the experience. It's it takes so much experience. So you got to trade, and you don't have enough money to do that live. You can't trade enough live to get that experience. So you have to do it on the simulator, and it has to be experience trading live data. So the only way to do that's on a simulator. Get on the simulator, trade live data as much as you can. Take every trade you think that meets our strategy, and then don't worry if you're right or wrong. Just take them, and then at the end of the day, go back and study them. Figure out what you did right, figure out what you did wrong, even study the winners, because sometimes you get lucky on winners. And it still may have been a bad trade. So don't reinforce bad habits. Study them all, figure out what you did right, figure out what you did wrong, and try to correct it the next day. And if you do that every day, you're going to get better at this. But the more you can do that, the faster you can get better. So don't lose sight of how important sim trading is with live data, taking every trade. Because if you're trading live, trying to take 2 or 3 trades a day, you're not getting enough practice and enough study. And it's just simple as that. And if you're just hell bent on trading live, as soon as you take your 2 live trades, go back to the simulator and take every trade you see that you think meets the criteria, and then study, study, study. But I'm telling you, you'll be better off not to trade live until you've proven you can do it on the simulator, because otherwise you're probably just going to be a donator. You're going to donate your money, and then the market needs donors. Simple as that. If there's not somebody, for every winner, the only way I can win $1 is if somebody else gives up $1. It's a zero-sum game. So somebody has to win and somebody has to lose for every single trade. And so the market needs donors. And so you don't want to be a donor. So one thing you don't want to do. So don't trade live until you've proven you can do it on the simulator. I say that over and over and over, and people don't listen. And I mean, I had one guy's wife start contacting me that he'd lost all their money. Oh, I didn't tell him to lose it. I didn't tell him what trades to take. I just tried to teach him the strategy. But she blamed me for them being broke. And it's crazy because it didn't come from me. I tell everybody over and over and over, do not trade live until you've proven you can do it on the simulator. And even then, have realistic expectations, because you're not going to come straight out and probably be, even if you've been profitable on the simulator, it's going to take a little adjustment to live trading. But you should at least be on the right track then and have a basic understanding of what you need to do. So didn't mean to get off on this tangent today, but we have to have this conversation every so often, because people just do not listen. And sometimes it's the 20th, the 10th, 15th, 20th time that I say it, that it finally, for whatever reason, the light goes off and they go, oh, I've heard you say that before, but didn't realize how important it was. If I say something over and over and over, trust me, it's important. And you can go back and watch these videos from 15 years ago, and you'll see me saying the exact same things. The message never changes. It does not change. So you can't say that I don't say it, because I do. But anyway, I hope you had a good trading day. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.